Guys.
Evening.
Evening.
Are we live? Are we live?
Yeah, we are. We just kicked off 5 seconds ago. Welcome,
hello.
everybody. Welcome. Kick it off.
Welcome, Tony. Wow. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
So this should be a good discussion, actually, because we have seen um, great news for some people and heresy for others in terms of information coming out concerning this new, I'm going to call it Global Super League. I know it's called European Super League, but I'm going to call it Global because that's where it's going. And we have had a varied reaction from across the globe. I think if you listen to all the pundits and radio station, television station, and feedback from some of the governing bodies, this has not been well received by many. It seems like we have had a virus in some people's eyes, but mainly in the footballing world. So we're here this evening to talk about this and get everyone's perspective. Should be a very lively discussion because I'm not sure we are all aligned accordingly. So we will start off by 18. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. We have some of the regulars joining us so far. We'll start off by saying, just want to get your overall perspective when you heard the news and what your views are, the proposed views are. So we'll start with you, Tony.
Okay, so, my initial reaction was complete and utter shock because quite clearly there has been some skullduggery in terms of what the people behind the scenes have been doing. You got guys who've been working in UEFA and putting forward a facade of, oh yeah, everything's rosy. Let's talk about these new plans for the Champions League in 2024 and blah, blah, blah. And like literally they hit you with a bullet, bam, in the back of the neck or the back of the head to say, 2 fingers to you, UEFA, because we've got a new team. And our new team has got all the backing of XYZ, money from here, solidarity from these clubs. We got these TV deals gonna be in play. So it was like, whoa, what a big announcement. And I'm still in utter shock in a way. But as the last 24 hours has developed and reading into certain things, reading through the press stuff, going into the Super League website, seeing all the stuff there, reading the commentary from certain individuals in the press, listening to certain other shows, it's dawned on me. I should have expected this. You called it yourself, Bertrand. You and I had a fairly sort of lengthy discussion about some of this previously, and I've now come round to realization that, you know what these people are doing is what the Premier League done to the Football League. And quite clearly, these people in high positions have turned around and gone, UEFA and FIFA, you're as corrupt as fuck. So we're just taking our money out. And we can do better than what you're doing.
Yeah.
And as a fan, it hurts. Initially, the first 24 hours hurts. But I've come to the realization that, okay, they're going to create something different. My club is going to benefit financially. And with those finances, they should be in a position to put themselves in a position where they can compete against the 12 to 15, 16 other clubs that are going to be in that Super League and create an enhanced football picture for me as a fan. Because ultimately, am I going to turn down the opportunity to see some of the players that, like, let's just say, for instance, PSG don't enter and we end up with Mbappe because we got the money and we can afford him. Am I going to say, well, fuck Arsenal, I don't want to see Arsenal with Saka and Mbappe and Partey and Marquinhos in my team? I'm probably going to watch. How much they want to charge me, that's a different aspect. But I'm probably going to watch. Because if you rip out the fabric of football, I'm going to have to find my football somewhere.
Danny, thanks, Tony. Danny, good evening. How are you doing? What's your view on this? I know you've been doing some research, so you have a lot of information.
I've been doing research. I made a video on it earlier. If you want to go check my channel out, you can go and watch that. I was taking a mickey out of it a bit, but I find the outrage about it a bit mental. I find it like it's a cross between a lot of dinosaurs who just can't handle change, and it makes them spaz out a bit. I find it immensely hypocritical as well, because I just watched Monday Night Football with Gary Neville, excuse me, and Jamie, what's the name? Carragher. And we were like, oh, the fans need to mobilize, they need to march on the clubs and da-da-da-da-da. But yet when it's racism, it's like, oh, another incident's happened, lads. Like, well, it's not even that big. Like, they got super outraged about the fact, that something that's already happened before in football's history, like you just mentioned, I forget who said it, about this is what the Premier League did to the Football League in 1992. It's the exact same thing. When I was researching, I was looking into how similar it was, So basically, I'm going to go into this a bit. So Greg Dyke, who was the head of ITV at the time, after the first football match was shown on British TV, first Football League match was televised in the mid-80s, the next season they realized people actually want to watch this. It had some of the highest viewing figures, so then they offered £44 million for the rights. Then the next season after that, it went up to 100 million or something. And the season after that, they decided we need to break away the top 5 clubs in the country. It was Arsenal, Manchester United, Everton, Tottenham, and I forget who else. They were the top 5 clubs in the country at the time. Decided to break away with Greg Dyke's help and form the Premier League. Now the same thing's happening again, and the biggest opponents of this are the Premier League, themselves, the Premier League, Sky, who have had a complete monopoly on TV rights in the UK since the Premier League was formed 30 years ago. They've had a complete monopoly, so you can understand why they're a bit peeved about this. And then you've got UEFA and FIFA, 2 of the most corrupt organizations in the world. So you can see why all these companies who stand to lose a whole heap of money are suddenly furiously outraged about this, because they're going to lose dough. And the clubs that have been the backbone of football on TV and the TV rights around the world, such as Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, who are the second most watched team in the country, even being 10th in the league, Man United, these are the teams that people watch football for in general. Obviously, you've got fans of other clubs, but comparatively, they're nothing compared to what Man United and Arsenal bring to the Premier League. They're nothing compared to what Liverpool bring to the Premier League. So we've been propping up this whole system for a long time. So you can understand why the owners of these clubs, being businessmen, are like, why shouldn't we have a bigger piece of the pie when we're the people that bring all the eyes to it anyway? So I can kind of see that point of view of where they're coming from. But at the same time, personally, selfishly, I kind of like the structure of the Champions League being a knockout competition. So I'll be disappointed to see that go if it does go ahead. But then I've also heard that in 2024, the Champions League structure was going to change to become 2 leagues anyway. It was going to be this structure. It was just going to be, you have to qualify for it. And then one more point I want to make before we move on is, people are saying that it's going to affect the competitiveness of the overall football scene, having no relegation and stuff like that. I watch the NBA, and I'm sure, Bertram, you watch the NBA as well. I know a lot of guys in the group who watch NFL and stuff. So if you watch the NBA, right, you would have noticed that the NBA is way more competitive than the Premier League. If we look at the amount of different winners of the NBA since 1992 compared to the Premier League, it's unbelievably more diverse selection of winners. So competitiveness is a stupid argument when you're arguing for not wanting this new thing to come in. I think what people need to do is be honest and stop following the narrative and say you just don't want this to happen because you're scared of change. That's the main reason people are arguing against it, because a lot of British football fans are all traditionalists. We don't want to see the change, and that's the only valid reason you can come with. Because in terms of competitiveness, I've just proved that's false. Because you look at American sports and they have no relegation, yet they're more competitive than British sports. So, like, that's my views on it. Anyway, let's pass it on to someone else.
So, Nick Paris asks, why is Spuds in the conversation? I know we're gonna hit on Spurs. I'm gonna go to Drew first, and then we'll go to to Ebony. And Drew, your perspective. I have a lot of thoughts, by the way. Drew, what's your perspective?
It's been a really interesting day, and to be honest, I've never really thought about the comparison with the American sports. I mean, last night I was raging. I was thinking, oh yeah, if we switch to this more American system where there's no relegation, nothing like that, it's going to be bad. But that's actually a really good point. I've followed the NBA for the past 30 years, and it is more interesting. Even with eras of dominance like you've had with the Lakers, with the Bulls, you still get more surprises. You get more interest in the sport. Teams can come through, they can still win it. Whereas, yeah, the Premier League, it is kind of a close thing. You don't get a Leicester every day, do you? So on that front of things, it's not going to affect anything. The thing that's annoyed me the most in the past 24 hours, though, UEFA have basically shown what we've all said about UEFA for years. As a Man City fan, this is why we don't like UEFA. They're petty. They've got this massive ego trip about where they fit into everything. And they don't realise that without the clubs, and to be honest, most of the clubs in this 12, their competition isn't that important. Their competition loses a huge chunk of its quality if they don't look after these clubs. And that's what they've done over the past few years. They've treated these clubs at times with certain levels of disdain. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like the idea of the Super League because it is a closed door. You can't go into it. You can't come out of it. It needs to be refined and worked on.
Not totally true. There's five slots being allocated to go in and out. You're just going to have 15 stable members. But keep going, too. Yeah.
And can I just cut in there as well? Yeah, if we look at it like Tony, your mic's off, bro.
Sorry, and there is also talk of a second league.
But not even just that. Check it like this: how many winners have there been in the Champions League since 1992? How many different winners have there been? Think about it like this: it's already a closed shop. The Premier League is a closed shop. If you think about the winners of the Premier League since 1992, it's a closed shop. You either buy into it with money or you're Arsenal or Man United. That's it. They're the winners for the last, even Blackburn, when they won it, they bought into it. Leicester, people forget they've got a billionaire owner. They didn't just magically appear out of nowhere. They got this billionaire type owner and then they won the league. And then now they're in the Champions League or in and about it every year. So it's a closed shop. It always has been. Like, people are so deluded. They're like, nah, it's going to be a closed. It already is. The only thing you can do is get a couple of teams that come up to go down next year. That's all it is.
I think the only difference is they're being honest about it being a closed shop, though. That's the thing. They're not going to do what UEFA do and beat around the bush about it. It is a closed shop. The most powerful teams are in there. But to be honest, though, if it improves quality of football, which I actually think it will, we'll have better quality of football to watch. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. I mean, better football can be a good thing. But the other thing is, quite honestly, pissed me off over the past 24 hours. It's UEFA and FIFA deciding that, wow, we don't want the players to be involved in international tournaments. It's nonsensical. So you want to weaken your own international tournaments because you've been pissed off by a couple of clubs. It shows the sheer petulance and the brattishness of the people that actually run the game internationally.
Do you know the best thing I heard about that is Jurgen Klopp did an interview on Monday Night Football, and who said UEFA they want more teams, more games in the Champions League. Why? More money. FIFA, they want the Club World Cup every year, which damages players and minimizes the product. Why? More money. It's like they're going on. I said in my video, these lot are taking the moral high ground, but they're more corrupt than a third of the Dog Pound gang, fam. They're the most corrupt organizations, and they're trying to take the moral high ground. Look at what's happened in FIFA and UEFA over the years. How can you take the moral high ground in this situation? It don't make sense.
Ebony, what's your perspective?
For me, I mean, I can understand why people are in favor of it. I'm not. For me, it's about greed and it's about money. Ultimately, for me, it's a case of, right, so you've got 6 teams from the Premier League, you've got however many teams you've got across Europe, and there's no competition apart from the fact that nobody gets relegated, number one. Number two, you're basically saying that that potentially all the teams from the Premier League are going to be taken out of the Premier League and they'll be stuck in this Super League. If that's incorrect, then I will stand corrected. But at the end of the day, it's not even thinking about the fans. If you're gonna stick all these teams in a Super League, how many fans realistically are going to will afford to watch their team? Literally go and pay for that. There's not that many fans that have the money to go and physically watch their team. That's number one. Number two, I don't think who have the who's been consulted here. Who's been consulted? Because I haven't been consulted. I don't think any of you have been consulted. The fans haven't been consulted. The fans are not thought about here. It's all about, okay, I know, let's create this Super League and let's make as much money as we can, and let's not give two fucks about the fans, and then we can make as much money as we can to fill our pockets, and that's it. How much of that money is going to be filtered down to the lower leagues? None.
10 billion per season.
10 billion. Yeah,
euros per season spread across 5 leagues, which is way more than the lower leagues get right now. And can I just say, Ebony, you're saying about money and it's all about TV and money. That's what everyone's saying. That's the narrative that's being pushed. What do you think it's about right now? What do you think it's about right now? It's all about money. It's been about money since 1992.
Football for the past 30 years has been about money and about greed. And this is why, some fans don't no longer buy into it anymore, because they're just fed up of the fact that it's all about money and the fans are the forgotten people, i.e. the people who actually put money into their coffers in the first place. It's been like that for years. We've had oligarchs for the past, 15, 20 years, pumping money into clubs, and clubs have been buying their way to Champions Leagues, etc. But I just think that now it's just got to the point where enough is enough, and the fans here are not thought about.
I hear you, so I see a couple of things. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you. I think they have thought about the fans, and I think they realize that having gone through 12 months without any fans, that's actually been the catalyst for them to say, actually, we can model our football without fans. Because it's a well-known fact. The TV rights alone, if you get that right, allows you to run a football club without fans in a stadium. Yeah? If you run a model like Real Madrid and Barcelona, where they own their TV rights and they can sell it across the globe, they don't need fans in a stadium. Now, will fans boycott a game with Barcelona and Real Madrid with all the best players? No way. Fans are going to go and want to watch that.
We're all going to watch it. If we're honest, no matter how you feel about it, you're going to watch it, man. Bertram, what do you think, man? You've been sitting there quiet, bro. I know you're loaded up already.
If I'm the one cheering this, I have to allow you guys to speak. You guys are
man. This is a committee.
So look, I smile about all of this because I live in the States, right? And as you said, Danny, NBA, NFL, NHL, all the sports teams, it's all the same. They don't have relegations, right? It's a European concept. It's not a European concept, a global concept, but it's not in the States. Now, I think it's from a different angle, which is, I didn't hear this uproar when Abramovich came in with illicit money when he bought Chelsea. I'm hearing not a push for Saudi Arabia. We just killed Khashoggi to buy Newcastle, right? Saudi Arabia. They have to show them, but Saudi Arabia going to buy Newcastle. There's some pushback, but I don't hear this uproar of saying we're going to protest. This cannot happen because these people don't have human rights, X, Y, Z. I don't hear the pushback when Sheikh Mansour bought Man City. Not only develop the club, but the area around it, right? Not only spend money on the club alone, but developing that whole area. You guys think about it. So I spent $1 billion buying an asset. And you're telling me I can't take any money out of it, my club, because I spent $1 billion, I shouldn't get any return on it. So you think about your own money. Like somebody say you buy your house, you can't live in your house. And why you buy the house in the first place? Why you allow me to buy the house? You don't want me to buy the house and do what I want to do with it? Why do you allow me to buy it? Nobody forced the English owners to sell to Americans or to Saudi Arabia. Nobody forced them. They did it for money. This is an investment for these individuals. That's how they operate. And here's the thing people don't understand. Private equity are not only owned by rich billionaires, they have investors. It could be a pension fund. It could be a pension fund investing in private equity. They want return on their capital. And they don't want 5 and 6%. They want 10, 20%. They put the money under the mattress and take less risk and get a better return. So in essence, what's happening, FSG is a private equity. I think in Milan is a private equity. There's a number of private equity who are getting involved because they see the opportunity. They think this market is undervalued significantly. Now, everyone's complaining about money and traditional. The world changes. If the world didn't change, we'd be in a agrarian society. We wouldn't have industrial society and then have technology. We'd be doing back in the old days, pulling carts with donkeys. The world changes. The question is, can you compete? And if you can't compete, get out of the kitchen because it's hot in there. The world is not focused on redistribution of wealth. That's why we have billionaires and poverty. We could solve world poverty. So I laugh at this whole concept of, you know what? Oh, this is horrible. This is terrible. It's horrible for the West Hams of the world and for the rest of the world. I'm an Arsenal fan and I say, thank you, Lord, we're going to be relevant again. Now, that sounds very selfish, but every English fan about their club is selfish, aren't they? They want to win. They want another English team to win. Enough clubs don't want Chelsea win the Champions League or Man City because we are all selfish. It's about us. We don't care about the players. What a player, Koscielny left Arsenal. Have we thought about Koscielny real recently? I know you live under undue circumstances. Did we think about Koscielny and what he's doing with his life? We don't care. We want to win to satisfy our own personal desires. That's all we care about, the individual. And the club give us that pleasure. And the club we've cheered for all our lives, that's what we focus on. Not the collective, the individual. Now, I agree Europe is a socialist construct. This is how Europe operates. You do think about others than just yourself sometimes. America, we don't. It's about, if you have 10 billion, you want 20, you have 20, you want 40, you have 41 Bezos money, which is 200 billion. So this whole concept of, you know what, we are so disgusted, and Danica hit it right. UEFA and FIFA go, and by the way, FIFA, I don't think this is just FIFA, because FIFA is not Europe, guys. I understand the concept of there's more money in Europe, but FIFA is the world. You think Australia, you think China, you think Jamaica, you think the US are sitting there struggling about, they're going to think about what can I get out of this? So I'm not sure when you say FIFA is going to ban. First of all, players have contract with clubs. So you can't ban me because I play for Juventus. I can't break my contract. I'm liable if I break my contract. So this is all going to be the courts and they will lose. And FIFA will get influence to say, you know what, we can't support this narrative because players don't force anybody to play for clubs. And Danny, you're right. Think about all the money can be generated to pay for. Arsenal will become relevant. The competition, as Danny alluded to, will be much more competitive because right now it's not. The Champions League, the Italian League, Juventus what, 8 times in a row? Only Barca and Real Madrid win. Atletico once in a while win. Think about it. Bayern win all the time in Germany. Where's the competition there? There's no competition. Yes, we may have the Leicesters, but the Leicesters are an aberration. The Leicesters are not normal. The Leicesters are not normal. They are rare gems.
Leicester was 5,000 to 1. I don't know how you do that in American betting odds, Bertram, but Leicester was 5,000 to 1 in the UK. Yeah, that's how, and with a bookie, yeah, that's all they go up to. So it would have probably been 1,000,000 to 1. Like, you think about how many times in the last century a team has come from nowhere and won the league. It don't happen. Think about the Champions League. People always use Porto as an example. What, the biggest club in Portugal? Yeah, they're underdogs, isn't it? And look at the team they had. Who did them players go on to play for? Barcelona, Chelsea, who went back to back with the league the next year. Come on, fam. This is not no surprising thing we're seeing here. This is the logical conclusion to a complete dominance, an era of dominance for certain football teams in Europe. You're going to have this conclusion. Now, I'm not saying I support it because, as I say, personally, I prefer the format of the current Champions League. I like the fact that you've got a domestic league and then you've got a European knockout competition. I like that format. But all the arguments I'm seeing are a bunch of people, dinosaurs, I see it as, people who are producing manufactured outrage for the media to get people outraged about this and that. Like if we look at Sky, they're only putting on the people who are outraged about it because Sky stand to lose the most out of it. They have had complete monopoly on TV rights, as I said, in the UK since the Premier League was formed. Complete monopoly, and then now they're looking at losing it. Same with the EPL, the Premier League organisation. They've had a complete monopoly on football in Europe for a long time. Like I know we talk about La Liga, but we're talking about football rights around the world. The Premier League do the most, so they stand to lose the most. That's why they're the biggest opposition to it. And all this stuff about we're going to ban players from international competition. Do it and watch football die. Football will be dead within a week. What? No Harry Kane. No. Who else is Lewandowski? No, none of these players. What are you talking? Shut up, bruv. No Ronaldo.
Bayern Munich.
So, guys,
so guys, one second. Tony and then Nabil.
Okay, so very quickly, guys, just want to say a big shout out to Kez, who's donated $9.99 on the super chat, and also to Cool K, who donated £5 on PayPal, I think. So thank you guys very much. We really appreciate those donations. They help us do a lot of good work with this channel. So go back to Nabil, was it?
Nabil?
Hey guys, sorry for the late. I'm actually still working, so I said, you know what? Because I made my promise, I said I'd come on. So I'm just gonna have to work and talk at the same time. I don't know which screen and what screen you guys are on.
We're seeing you really well. It's fine.
Just to jump in real quick, you know, one of the surprises that I found today is that Bayern Munich have actually declined. So Lewandowski will be in the Champions League. Bayern Munich have declined, and so have PSG declined. Although I think that will change once it kicks off, gets underway, and then you start putting out invites. Those guys will probably be in the second or maybe even the third round of the invites coming in. But yeah, just to give you my quick 2 pence, and I did put this on the post as well. I feel like I understand the business side of it. I understand where these guys are coming from, and I do feel passionately about this, right? Because I've been kind of snobbish for a while, right? When I see Leicester sitting comfortably in fourth and West Ham jumping in there in fourth and wherever they are, Champions League spots, and I'm like, it's gonna take Leicester, it's gonna take West Ham years. It's going to take them some really good, interesting signings. We've been putting out guys like Ian Wright since Ian Wright. Liverpool have been putting out guys like Stan Collymore, Ian Rush, you know, your Michael Owens, since how long it's been. Man United, we don't even need to talk about it. Leicester, they had a great season where they found some nice rough diamonds and got in on the strength of us going through our transitional period. I feel like Man United were going through their transitional period as well. And it was difficult for us guys to try to navigate our way through this. And then you got the financial fair play on top of it, right? It was difficult for us to navigate our way through this. And then here we go, Leicester sitting pretty in fourth place, Champions League. Ain't nobody want to watch no Leicester. Ain't nobody in China or Arabia or Africa trying to watch Leicester. They're trying to watch Arsenal because pedigree. When you talk about AC Milan, the moment you say AC Milan, I think of all the names that you are thinking of. All those great names that you think of. They've earned that right to be elite. You want to see who they might have now. You know, Inter Milan, Juventus, it's the same thing. Man City and PSG, they got a little bit of a sneaky blight because, as far as I'm concerned, they breached the financial fair play rules. But guess what they done? They brought in exciting players you want to watch. Your Neymars, your De Bruyne's. Do you understand? So if you want to get a seat at the table, fair play. We can wipe the record clean and start all over again. But no West
Chelsea.
Ham. Chelsea, fair enough. I mean, they done it
had no
earlier.
History before 2000.
They done it earlier. They done it earlier than
But they had
your
no
Man.
history before 2000.
Yeah. I'm not arguing it. They done it before Man City and they done it before PSG. So fair play to them all. But when you talk about Arsenal, when you talk about United, when you talk about Liverpool, when you talk about AC Milan, Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc., you're talking about elite teams. You're talking about the reason why the Premier League is so interesting. Man United and Arsenal, our feud, that little space of time that Wenger had when, you know, man's throwing pizza and all this type of stuff. We were the reasons what made the Premier League what it is. When you talk about the Champions League, our guys, Thierry Henry, dealing with Real Madrid when we're expected to lose, going to the final, we made the Champions League what it is. So when we get a transitional period and financial fair play restrictions, and therefore we are out of the Champions League for a while, and in comes teams like West Ham and Leicester, I think to myself, you know what? I see where these guys are coming from. They're like, hang on a second, we built this. We made this, and we deserve our seat at the table, even if it's based on what we've done way back. We've still got the caliber. You saw the financial valuations of these clubs. Arsenal is still an elite team. When you look at the top teams in terms of valuation, you still see Arsenal. So for me, that's where I am. I'm like, I can't say if I'm for it or against it because I can't see how it's going to pan out. But I can totally see where these guys are coming from.
So can I just jump in there?
Go on.
Bertram? So yeah, you are very snobbish, Nabil, because I think you have definitely ignored a whole bunch of teams, because when it comes to like the building blocks of football, yeah, you've missed out teams like Nottingham Forest, who won the Champions League twice.
You're going too far.
Yeah, but how long did they sustain it for? How long did they sustain it for?
Matter.
Going too far back now.
What you're doing, guys, is you're saying, okay, well, I'm only going to look at history, but I'm only going to look at this small gap where Arsenal was super effective.
But Tony, let me
finish. I understand what you're saying, guys. I appreciate what you're saying. Arsenal. Look,
it's not. Tony, let me cut in quickly.
We've been doing it for years, bro. I'm testimony, because I've been to every European final, bar Baku, yeah, with my team going back in the 80s, yeah? So I know what it's about, yeah? So I know we have the history, yeah? But what I'm saying is the 12 teams are big teams, and we're saying, well, PSG don't deserve this. What have Tottenham done to deserve to be in it?
Nah, that's what I'm saying.
Leicester haven't got enough people.
Let's read some of these comments. Yeah, let's read some of the comments. So Charles is saying those teams.
Wait, Bertram, let me just cut in with this important point. Yeah, you see when they're talking about certain teams like Nottingham Forest, the 6 teams that are involved from England. Yeah, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Tottenham Hotspur. Let me just read out the list of the most successful teams, the teams with the most trophies in English football history. Yeah, see if they compare. Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and Tottenham Hotspur. That's why. It's nothing to do with it. We're the most successful. Tottenham have one more trophy than Aston Villa, so they're clinging on by their fingernails. But they're the reason. They're the 6 teams that are involved, because they're the most successful teams in England in English football history. That's why. Anyway, so comments.
Yeah, so just comments. Nabil, well, someone saying to Nabil, I think this is Apollo. Those clubs have much smaller fan base. This isn't attractive to sponsors. The correct criteria for this is club. We'll get to that. For the size, for viewership, for a large fan base, that's where you're sponsoring, right? So what he's basically saying is the large clubs have the fan base. That's what sponsors want. That's what you can sell. So you're selling advertising, right? You're selling advertisement to globally. You're not selling Leicester. You're not selling Nottingham Forest. You're not selling Burnley. You're selling the big clubs. That's what they know. That's what resonates. That's where they have the fan base. Look, I've heard all the arguments, plus and minus on this. I understand the tradition. I understand the culture. But fans got to realize that their hobby that they have and that alignment they have, that has to change in terms of how you think about these things. Because you weren't pushing back against money coming to the game. You didn't force those English owners to keep those teams. And how can you do so? They own the teams. You don't own the team. It's not like in Germany or like Barcelona where fans own the team. That's going to be interesting what Bayern does. If this goes ahead, Bayern becomes obsolete. They have won the German league 101 times. It doesn't matter anymore. That's the way the competition is. And if they can't compete when it comes to money, players are not going to go to them. Here's what you're going to have. You're going to have player salary structure. Because right now, player cost is out of control. So you're going to have ceilings in terms of how much players can make. Maybe they get 50% of the revenues or 60%. But the owner's going to have their built-in profitability in this whole model. That's what they're moving towards. I get XYZ billion. I take up my portion. I pay the players. I pay my operating costs. And I move forward. And people don't seem to realize that. So at the end of the day, I know that there is this touch deep for a lot of people. I see protestation in the UK with people already lining up to protest. But how does that ever change anything? I understand what happened in Liverpool when trying to raise ticket prices, but this is different. So here's a question for you guys. Do you think this is actually materialized? I'll start with Danny first, since he's very passionate about this.
I don't think so. Not now, but I do think at some point, like you say, it's inevitable, man. Football has been heading for a franchise. I said this in the group yesterday. Football has been heading for a franchise model for the last 30 years. The more commercialized it becomes, the more corporate it becomes, the more we're heading towards that model, because that's the only way to sustain this kind of money that you have in the game is by using a franchise model that they have in the States. I hate to say it, but it's true. So, and I'm not one of these people that hang up on tradition. Like, things change, man. The world changes. You can't have 100-year-old sport with 100-year-old rules and 100-year-old like traditions and stuff like that. It's not going to work, but you get me. So it's going to evolve, and this will happen. Arsene Wenger called it years ago. Remember when he said that it's going to be European Super League at some point? He called it before he even left us. And then look at what's happening now. It's going to happen, but I think, like you said, Bertram, I think you said it in the group, that this is like a negotiating ploy to force UEFA's hand into fair evening things up at the moment. But I do think, you know what, yeah? If it is real, UEFA and FIFA and the EPL can't do nothing. They can't do nothing. If it's gonna happen, they're gonna have to acquiesce. They're gonna have to back down because it's too lucrative. Too many players who want to play in it. You get me? That's what I think.
It's too late. It's too late. The reason I say it's too late is you've got to look at. Thank you, by the way, Charbacks, for telling me about my volume issues. I will need to sort that out. But the reason I think it's too late is when you look at the way Ed Woodward and Agnelli have left UEFA. If there was going to be a case of, let me put something on the table, and this is a final offer, you either change something and we come back. But they've not done that. What they've done is they've gone, all right, you say all this bullshit in my ears, and we're going to just come one day and go, we're out. Ed Woodward left yesterday. Agnelli left yesterday. They both basically said, oh, yeah. And now UEFA are going, oh, look at these cheating bastards. They listened to us. They told us all this blah, blah, that we like what you're planning for the UEFA Champions League in 2024. And now you pissed off and created this other thing. They're not about trying to rewrite the UEFA's rules. They're about creating their own.
Drew, what's your thoughts?
This is not a negotiation thing. This is an out and out. I've got a new book with new rules, and we are going. We're in.
Drew, your thoughts? Will this happen?
I mean, it is going to happen. I mean, whether people want it to or not, it is going to happen. UEFA are going to have to grow the fuck up, quite honestly, and suck it up a little bit now, and actually go and talk to the 12 teams. They're going to have to do something to actually make their product still viable and important. Because at the moment, you're going to take out probably 6 of the best teams that are playing in the Champions League at the moment. You take out 6 of the best teams in the Champions League, what's going to happen to it? You're going to get a Bayern Munich PSG final every year? Is that what people want to watch? No. People are going to want to watch Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham. We're not going to tune into the Champions League just to watch Bayern Munich versus PSG in the final every season.
But
so
you're not reading it right though, Drew, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna recalibrate the whole league. The 12 teams will be hit with 3.
No, Tony, you missed what he's saying. Tony, you missed what he's saying.
Season.
No, he's talking about the other Champions League, Tony.
Sorry?
You missed what he's saying. He's talking about the Champions League without those teams.
I'm about to get there. So the 12 teams are going to recalibrate and going to be compete on a level play field. What that does is it means the next group of teams, your Leicesters, West Hams, Evertons, etc., they're now going to be competing for the next level, which means their competition. Let's equate it to the Premier League has the best players. The Football League, the Championship, has the next best level of players. Yeah, and that's all it's going to be. So nothing really changes. You're just going to have the super elite at a much higher level, because those 12 teams, those 16 teams will be filled with the very, very best, yeah, from the world. Yeah, because you imagine any player who's the next Neymar out of Brazil is coming straight into the Super League. And they're getting paid $500,000 a week.
No, this is where I'm going with it, though. You're going to replace these top quality teams with inferior teams in the long run. You're not going to have... If you take out the first 12 teams to start with, what's the Champions League seriously left with?
That's what Drew's saying. Yeah, Drew, you're correct.
You've literally then got PSG and Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich and PSG aren't going to hang around in the Champions League long. They will want to join up to this.
This is why they're throwing around these threats, because they know that if this happens, I mean, the Premier League is going to become so substandard. Like, I admit, I mean, just to throw this out there,
it doesn't affect the Premier League, Nabil.
So
this is the thing that's getting me. Everyone's talking about the way it's going to destroy the Premier League, but
it's not instead of. It's going to be as well as.
No. Okay. So let me. So if I can just finish my point.
Go ahead.
The Premier League is going to carry on, so they say, but this is why they're throwing out those threats, because, and this is the point. This is what's at the core of this, right? The Premier League money, the TV money, right? The reason for it is Man United, is Arsenal, is Liverpool, is Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City of late. That's the reason for it. Take them out of it. It ain't going to be, you think I'm going to be tuning in to watch West Ham versus Leicester? I ain't got time for that. You know?
No, you guys are confusing the point. No, you guys are confusing the point.
Let me finish.
Go ahead, finish.
The point I'm trying to make is, right, that's why they are doing this, because they are the reason for it, right? This is what I believe, and this is what I thought for a while. Yeah, they are the reason why people are watching worldwide. Not because of Aston Villa, not because of Fulham, because of us. So those guys, those money men, those board guys, those owners, they've got together and said, you know what? At the end of the day, you know, I don't think this is the reason, but this is what I relate to. This is what I relate to. Us, what we are going through at Arsenal. Even just on the most recent couple of games, you can still see what we are about. We are just in transition. Get the right money. Get the right players in, get the right manager, and let everything settle down. We come back to where we were. But then, with the TV money that's being thrown in, the TV money that we are the reason for, when that TV money comes in and goes into teams like West Ham, for example, goes into teams like Everton, for example, it does make it harder for us to get in. And some of you will say, and I agree with you, this is the thing, I am on the fence, but I'm on the fence more facing the board guys. Because when that TV money comes in, and when your teams like your Evertons and your Leicesters and yada, 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 when they get that TV money, and when we're faced with things like the transitional period, and they get their space in the Champions League, for example, and we're out of it, it doesn't fit right. It doesn't feel right. This is what they're feeling. It feels like this competition that we've built up, we've made it so valuable, we've made it so profitable, created the interest globally, and then it goes to the other guys. It's like they're saying to themselves, well, no, let's just since the people, forget about the fans for a minute, since the people worldwide want to see us, because they do. Me included. I don't want to watch West Ham. I don't want to watch Leicester. I haven't got time. I've got time for my team and a few big teams, just like most people. So why not create this league where it's just us, the teams that people want to watch? And the only problem I have is who governs it, because with the self-governing model, that's just ripe for corruption. That don't sit well with me. But I can see it now spreading all over the globe. You know, when you're on holiday and you're in the football, the sports bars or whatever, what game is on? Oh, it's Bayern Munich versus Arsenal. You're watching that. Or it's Real Madrid versus Arsenal. You're watching that. That's what people want to see. That's what that Super League is, and that's what they want to do. And I can just relate to that. I don't get involved in whether it's right or wrong or whether it should happen or it's not. I just totally see where they're coming from.
And you're right. That's
Ebony, what's your view?
Is it going to happen? It wouldn't surprise me if it still went ahead, to be quite honest. I mean, in part, I agree with Nabil. Yes, teams do. Yes, people do want to see the Arsenals, the Bayern Munichs, etc. However, what is that actually? What kind of a message does that actually say to the other teams that aren't involved? Is that saying that we're not going to include you in this Super League because we just don't think you're worthy of watching. We just don't think you're good enough.
That is what they're saying. And
Yeah.
it's true. And it's true. It's true. Who wants to watch Burnley versus West Brom? No one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like,
that's fair enough. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like the message that it sends out to the other teams is nobody wants to watch us because we're crap. So therefore, let them all go and spend all their money on the Arsenals, etc. The other teams are small fry. They're not worth worrying about. And that is a very dangerous message to send to other teams. It's basically saying we don't care. And if you fall by the wayside, we still don't care because we're just going to plow all of our time and all of our efforts and all of our money into the Super League. So if it does go ahead, which I don't agree with, it wouldn't surprise me because at the end of the day, as I said, ultimately, as the Premiership has been, particularly in the last 18, 19 years, it's all about money.
So think about any league that you want to think about, or anything in life that you want to think about. And think about who generates the most money and do they get compensated for either their services or what they bring to the table. So I'll give you an example. I used to run a league here in the States, about 20 teams. We used to have a competition where all the Caribbean teams bring their players. And so we play for their country. So Jamaica, Grenada, come and play. When we play the games, we would draw between 2,000 and 5,000 people. But when Grenada plays, we'd have like 10,000, right? And we'd pay that money. So Grenada came to us one year and says, we're drawing most of the crowd. We should get a lion's share of the pie. And we said, no, we can't do that. It's an egalitarian system, equal distribution. And they said, we disagree. And we said, no, it's going to be this way. And they said, okay, we're not coming back. Because they would bring their own family games and we're not bringing our crowd with us. Now, our game receipts went down by more than 50%. They proved their point. Same construct here, which is we generate most of the revenues. We should get most of the revenues. That's life. That's how life works. Think about investment bankers. Think about Bezos and his Amazon, who Victor gets the spoils. You generate most of the revenues. You expect to get the revenue. You don't care about, you're in competition. You don't care about West Ham. You don't care about Leicester. You don't care about West Brom. That's not your problem. You care about you and your business and your profitability.
And can I just say, in Spain, that's exactly how it works. Real Madrid and Barcelona get the biggest share of the pie. They get 300 million euros per season. How much do we get per season? 70 million. Despite, like I keep saying, we're 10th in the league right now. We're the second most viewed team in world football in the Premier League. Yeah, around the world, we're the second most viewed team, despite being 10th in the league. We're the 8th biggest we're the 8th biggest sports team, not football team. The 8th most valuable sports team on the planet. Just think about that for a second. Talk about every sport you're talking about here, yeah? Talking about NBA, talking about NFL, talking about hockey, talking about all the other sports there are. Cricket, the IPL is massive in India, the cricket league, yeah? We're the 8th biggest in the world. So, and then we're coming away with what? Slice of the pie every season. That's why we're falling back. That's why our revenue's dropping, because we can't compete, because other teams are getting our slice of the pie. Do you see what I'm saying? So I agree with Nabil. That's what I'm saying. We need a bigger slice of the pie, and it's been so long that we've not been getting it that they're just like, fuck it, we're going to go and do our own thing. We'll go and do it with these lot. And then that's why I think it might be a negotiating play to force more money. And if that don't work, we'll go off and do it anyway. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and people have to understand that, the Premier League took over from Syria, right? Syria was the most dominant league, had most of the fans, had the best players. The Premier League took over in that. The Premier League will be affected. No, not the way you're thinking. Man, you won't drop out of the Premier League, neither will Arsenal, but it won't be as important. Because, guys, think about this. As Nabil said, which people don't seem to realize, when you look at the chart on the weekend, you're going to watch games. You see West Brom playing Burnley, you skip that. You see Leicester playing Fulham, you skip that. Arsenal, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U. Isn't that what you circle in your calendar? So imagine circling that every week, 4 games. You'd probably be a couch potato watching football. You're not doing that for a lot of the other games in all different leagues. That's the fear of UEFA. That's the fear of the Premier League. That's the fear of all these leagues. So that's understandable. But frankly, I don't think these teams care, frankly. They're thinking about their teams, their progress, their profitability. And look, it's hard to digest for a lot of people. Ebony?
I'm just actually quite intrigued. I'm actually quite interested in what the players of the 6 clubs in the Premier League think. Because I don't think I can possibly guarantee, no, I can't guarantee, but I can possibly hazard a guess in that they don't agree with it. Because one of the biggest things about the Premier League is that it's so competitive. It's actually more competitive than La Liga. Well, in terms of, you know, any team can beat any team on their day.
Footballers are mercenaries.
No, guys. One thing about this, Tony. I'll say this. What do all players say they want to do?
Win trophies.
Not only that, but what do they say? They want to play Champions League football.
Yeah.
Because they want to compete against the best.
It's the elite competition.
With all the best
it don't always work that way, because some of the best players in the world are in China, and some of the best players in the world are in Qatar.
Nah, they're not. They're not though, man. The Chinese league have some good players, but they don't have the best in the world.
No, but Tony, it's on average, Tony. It's on average. It's on average. Yeah. It's a collection.
Ultimately, what I'm going to say is, when it comes to the players, right, they're mercenaries. Yeah, they're going to go where the money is. If you've got a team that's full of players who are playing in a Super League on 300 grand a week, between 300 and 500 grand a week, yeah, and you're on 80 grand at Leicester, guess where I'm going to go?
Yeah. Apollo, put back the previous comment. Apollo, put up the previous comment. Talks about IPL. So this is for you, Danny. IPL is a perfect example. How many top cricketers do not play in their domestic leagues?
I don't know, but my point is this: yeah, we're talking about the Super League coming in and the Champions League and all the prestige of the Champions League and stuff. Yeah, think about it like this: yeah, remember when they got rid of the Cup Winners' Cup and everyone was in an uproar saying it's going to devalue the UEFA Cup, it's going to do, and then no one gives a shit now. No one cares. Like,
so I'll answer the previous IPL. I'll answer the IPL question, which is whoever asked the question, which is players playing the IPL at the expense of their local leagues, even at the expense of their countries. So players playing the IPL instead of playing for West Indies in test matches, they skip that. And guys, here's the example. I'm going to give you guys, because you guys are a little bit younger. Kerry Packer was an Australian multimillionaire, probably billionaire. Cricket wasn't paying a lot of money to players. He came in and said that he started his own league. So the uproar was just like this at that time versus what we have today. Started his own league, got the best players to play in his league. They got banned from playing for their countries. The players didn't care because they weren't getting paid. Now it's a little bit different story here, but the players went and played in his league because it's paying ridiculous sum of money. As Tony said, they're mercenaries. They don't care about all this stuff. They probably want him coming. They should be carrying their bank account.
I can understand that, you know, all, you know, loads of players, you know, they move from club to club because they want to play in the Champions League. That's fair enough, but you know, and I'm not averse to change. I think sometimes change can be great, but when it's at the expense of the other clubs that are being left behind.
It's not though, man. It's not like you're talking about 10 billion per season guaranteed to be spread across all of the leagues involved. So that's five leagues involved, yeah? 10 billion euros, 2 billion euros a piece is way more than grassroots football gets right now, Ebony. It's way more. So that argument is just a false narrative. I'm telling you now, this thing about greed, like football it's been about greed since before the EPL. Since before the Premier League came in, it's been about greed, always has. And it's even better now because players get paid at least a decent share of the money. Back in the day, they used to not, and the club owners would take it all. And people seem to have this delusion now that it's all about greed all of a sudden. No, it's not. It's about clubs getting what they're like Nabil says. I can't agree with him more. That's why I wanted him on the show. I begged them to come on because I was like, the point you're making is 100% right. Like, we're not getting our fair share of the pie. That's why Barcelona and all that put pressure on the La Liga to get their fair share of the TV rights. They don't care about the other teams. Like, at least with this proposal, the other team, like lower league teams, will get a lot more money than like right now. Yeah, do you know they had to beg this season clubs were going out of business over COVID, they had to beg for £30 million for the English Football League. They had to beg for £30 million to save them. £30 million. How much do you think they'll be getting with a share of 2 billion? Do you see what I'm saying? It's going to be a lot more different. This whole thing is about COVID and clubs trying to guarantee their revenue. Yeah, if we look at a team like Man United, 150 million Twitter followers. Arsenal, 75.9 million Twitter followers. If each of those, Gary Neville said this, each of those pay £1 to watch a football match every week, how much money is that per week? £75 million in Arsenal's bank every week, £150 million in Man United's bank every week. That's why they want control of their TV rights. Do you see what I'm saying? 75 million a week, you know, not season, a week. That's how much we get from the Premier League every season if we're lucky.
Yeah, but Danny, that's the point. That's the fight, Danny, between.
I understand.
Go ahead, Nabil.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. I mean, in response to what Ebony was saying, me personally, I think it is going to go ahead. I don't know if it's going to go ahead this season, next season, 25, 24, but I think it's going to go ahead, and I think it's going to be one of those things like the Cup Winners' Cup, where at first you think, you know, this is a bad thing, but then when it's all done and dusted, it works. And I think it will work because, like everybody, you know, we know what it's about. I get what everyone's saying about this whole competition thing, but you know, you can have your competition, you can have your Premier League. We just won't be in it. You know,
well, the competition is only for the bottom three. The competition is not the top of the league because Man City and Liverpool are winning on. So we don't.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the race for the top four and so forth, but really and truly, I mean, let's just put it into perspective. You only have this intriguing race for the top four because Man United have gone through their transition period and Arsenal are going through their transitional period. That's really all it is. Even Spurs, I mean, Chelsea have it as well sometimes, but take that transitional period out of it. Let's just say Wenger just carried on doing what he was doing and Fergie just carried on doing what he's doing. These guys wouldn't get a look in, you know, and put that TV money argument on top of it. It just makes sense to me. I mean, like, I don't know what everybody's so scared of, to be fair. I really don't.
I don't think anyone's scared. I don't think anyone's scared.
It scared loads of people. It
scared them. They're terrified.
People because loads of people are talking with doom in their mouth. You know, I've heard it. The last 24 hours, football has died. That's what we've seen.
Exactly.
Exactly. Football
died. What does that mean?
You have got to just scour social media.
Yeah.
People have said, and this is thousands of people have said, my team's dead.
Yeah. R.I.P. We had a guy saying, I stopped supporting Arsenal. I'm like, what?
No, they won't.
They're protecting their money, man. That's what they're doing.
They won't stop supporting their team. But
I'll go back to where I originally started. When I made my first opening gambit, I said, how much is this going to cost me at the end of the day? That's what it boils down to.
It will cost you less, if anything, Tony.
Is bang
it will cost you less. If Arsenal are marketing their own TV rights, then the league do not have to consider. They don't have to consider, we've got to pay for Burnley, we've got to pay for this team and that team. You'll get it directly given to you. So you subscribe to Arsenal TV. You won't subscribe to the Sky Sports anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? I've heard DAZN are involved. And DAZN, we all know their subscription model. It's like you pay like, what, £10 a month, and then you get every boxing match, Canelo fight, NBA, football, tennis, whatever, it's all on there. So if it ends up in that model, which is the most lucrative model in the world at the moment, then you can understand, you can see how this is going to be so much better for every single football fan in terms of the Premier League are going to have to fix up, you get me? They're going to have to change their model. They try fleecing us £15 a game on Amazon. Remember that tip? What are you on about, bro?
I wouldn't put it past the likes. I mean, the DAZN model is the ideal because I'm a massive boxing fan. And obviously, for me, DAZN is a dream come true. I remember it first started off with Box Nation, paying £5 a month, and you was getting all this boxing for free in a month. If it works out that they continue that model, great. But I very much doubt it continues like that. I'm pretty certain at some point in time, they get everybody to subscribe on a low value. And then as you become accustomed to having it, then you can start introducing your premium pay-per-view.
There's an introductory fee, and then you start paying what it actually costs.
Or you'll get the regular season games. You'll get the regular season games, and then the finals. They'll probably pay-per-view that. That's probably true.
Can I just ask a question here? So all right. So put in the Super League to one side. So, what does it mean in terms of the Premier League? Does this mean that the Premier League with us in it and the other 5 teams in it will carry on as normal?
Yeah, that's the proposal put forward by the Super League themselves. They say the club,
it's
all
supposed
it
to
does
be.
is replace the Champions League, and this is why everyone's so scared. All the money men are so scared in these organizations because they're realizing they're becoming obsolete because they've been trying to cut out. Do you know how much billions the Champions League make every year? The
So is
UEFA.
that the idea to substitute this for the Champions League?
Yeah,
Yes.
basically.
So all the
You can have the
Champions League-
Champions League, but the Champions League becomes the UEFA League. The Europa Cup becomes the Cup Winners' Cup. You see what I'm saying? That's what's going to
Right.
end up happening, isn't it?
Right.
So
right.
Because from what I understand, there's going to be like 3 European competitions. You've got the Champions League, then you've got
would
Europa,
die.
and then,
You know
then
that-
you've got Europa's cousin.
Europa
You can't have
Confederation.
the Champions League and the European Super League.
nah,
because
the Champions
can't.
League would dead. It would dead.
The Champions League will die.
Mm.
The
So-
Champions
Well,
League will
it
will-
effectively
it will-
become the Europa League in the next
Yeah.
decade if this goes forward.
Yeah,
Which
it's just
it's
name changes.
progress, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Europa League next season. That's already been divided into 2 competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's.
I haven't heard the
it-
latest,
it-
honestly.
It doesn't
Tell me-
matter what you call it. It's going to be. Division
Tell me a
1,
bit about
Division 2,
the
Division
European.
3.
Tony, sorry, Tony. I was on. I was listening to Talk Sport, but then the missus called, and you can't. And I couldn't make an excuse. I had to listen, and I had to shut down. I really wanted to hear what they were saying. Tell me about what the plan is for the new Europa League. What's the plan?
So the Europa League next season breaks down into 2 competitions. So it's like the UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup.
Again,
Yeah.
it's
So
back
you've got
again.
Champions League, UEFA Cup, Cup Winners' Cup.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
UEFA. That's the UEFA proposal.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Got it.
It's done deal. It's a done deal.
And the
Okay.
Champions League is going the same way. 2 separate leagues, teams of 10 or something like that. Basically, what the Super League is doing.
But didn't they say they wanted to introduce more teams? They said they wanted.
Yeah, it's 36
It's
teams
more
or something
teams
like
and more games. You're going to play a maximum of
Yes.
27 games or something.
And Jurgen
Wow.
Klopp was fuming about that. Jurgen
Right.
Klopp today did an interview and he was pissed, fam. He
I'm
was
not
like, I don't
surprised.
want more games. And you
Yeah.
lot are money hungry as well. So don't be,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
basically saying, you lot don't be sneering down at
Yeah.
these lot because you're doing the same thing, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got
the
it.
proposal would affect the Premier League in the context of
Right.
now we
Yes.
talk about top 4.
Mm.
You won't have the top 4. That's where part of the interest comes from, right? Trying to get to the top 4 to get Champions League. You
Mm.
won't have that same situation. I'm not sure how the 5 spots going to be divided up
Mm.
because the 15 teams are locked in, or 12 teams
Yes.
are locked in.
Yes.
You only have 5 open slots. It's the question: how does that work across Europe to get
Mm.
into that 5 slot to participate in that Super
Yeah,
League?
but
So that'd be interesting how that works.
And this is the thing I was going to say to Ebony as well. They will be giving out invites to other clubs to join. But I like that. I like the idea that you got to earn your right. You can't just get a fluky season, get in the Champions League. You've got to earn to be in the Super League, the European Super League. You've got to earn your right. And I like that.
Not for the founding members though. That has been decided.
No,
Not for the founding members.
because they've already earned their right. I take out Arsenal
Okay.
out of the equation. When you talk about AC Milan, when you talk about Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, just talk about those teams. So I don't want to take it onto the Premier League and be biased or whatever. These teams have earned their right over years. Since I was a kid, those teams have been elite. Since I was a nipper, they've been elite. They've always been elite.
Mm.
So
We're one of the biggest qualifiers for it as well. When you check how many seasons we were evergreen in the Champions League, I don't think any team other than Barcelona have beaten us in terms of qualification consistently. So
no team has. No team has a consistent run year on year like we have. That's our claim to fame.
Barca have, I think, 38 seasons in a row in the Champions League.
I think
in a row.
I think you also have to
so.
just bear in mind, guys, that a lot of these teams are corrupt.
Oh yeah, but the whole where there's money, there's corruption.
Yeah,
like,
because effectively they've taken a piss out of financial fair play.
Yes,
the things that Barcelona and Real Madrid have done before financial fair play to be in the position they are in now.
Yes.
Quite frankly,
yeah,
it's a crime. Sorry about my mic being low, guys.
And that's another thing for me as well, because financial fair play, we played along. We played along as far as we're concerned, and we kind of got shot in. Someone said we got stabbed in the back. I mean,
Yep.
pretty much did. When you look at teams like Man City and what they've got away with, you know, and
PSG.
while we're playing along, you know, and someone said, you know, it's like UEFA stabbed us in the back because that was supposed to protect our investment in terms of what we done with the stadium. So I so get where the owners are coming from, where they're like, we have this power. Our clubs have over time built up this power. Maybe it's time we utilize it instead of, you know, singing to dancing to their tune all the time, UEFA and whatever.
Well,
I
I'm
just
not
wanna-
sure. I'm not sure if financial fair play. I'm not sure if we adhere or we glad they had it because we weren't going to spend money anyway. We're a self-sustaining
Right.
club,
True.
so we were going to overspend. I would say
To,
this,
to
though,
be
it
honest,
makes-
financial
it
fair
makes
play
you
was
look
the
more-
biggest lie that UEFA ever sold
Right.
to
I
every
agree.
team in Europe.
I agree.
Financial fair play has been a fraud since day one. It was set up to benefit the very best teams
Yeah.
financially. It was set up pretty much Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United.
to do
They
what the Super
benefited
League's
from
doing,
financial
basically.
fair play more than anyone else. When Man City got out of their final last year, good to them. What other business are you going to go into where you're told you can't spend your money? As a business
Yeah,
owner, if you buy a business,
exactly.
where are you going to be told you can't spend your money?
Yeah, it's fair if you spend too much of the money that you've made.
Well,
No,
the
man.
NBA
It's
and the
unfair,
teams
sorry.
in the US have a similar construct, except they have a luxury tax. So if you spend over a certain amount, you paying $1 or $2 for every dollar
Yeah.
you spend over the threshold that they set for you. So they have it's moving to what I call the American construct and the American model. This is how these things work. I will say this though, for those other teams, the Man U, the Arsenal, the Tottenham, they'll better be able to compete with the Real Madrid and Barcelona of the world. Because frankly, we couldn't compete with those firms because they could buy any player at any cost and pay them any money because they had an open wallet to borrow from, right? That will change. So now you'll have more money being allocated to these 12 teams. They can better compete, and the competition will be closer, as Danny alluded to earlier, which is going to be much more competitive league than we have today. Because right now, you won't have, I don't think, Real Madrid winning Champions League 4 to 5 years or 4 years or 6 years. You'll have a different construct in terms of money will be there, good competition for players. Now, the question is, players will make different decisions, which is where do I want to live? I want to live in London because I can get the same money from Arsenal as I get from Barcelona. It's going to be really interesting how that works.
Yeah.
You see this comment here. Everyone's moaning now about greed, yeah, but you didn't care. Like, we've got a Man City fan here, yeah. I'm sure you don't mind the fact that your club that was languishing in the second division, yeah, then got bought out by
Quite
some
honestly, we were 2 days from going out of business.
yeah,
when we were in the second
Chelsea
division.
as well. Chelsea were that close to going
Yeah.
bankrupt with Ken Bates, yeah, and
Yeah.
then
Don't
Roman
forget,
comes
Chelsea
in.
was sold for £2.
A
So
pound.
you can't dance with you can't dance with the devil and then moan when you get hot. You see what I'm saying? These people,
Yeah.
people are then moaning now, but you wanted all this investment, all these Arsenal especially. We can't moan, yeah, because remember all this stuff about Usmanov, who's a shady Russian businessman and he's going to come in and ruin the club and all that. And then now look what you're doing. You've got Kroenke who's doing this, and then you're moaning. So come on, man, like you can't moan. Like I say, don't dance with the devil if you don't want to get hot, man. That's what's happening.
That's funny because I knew a financial services firm. I know this personally. Who refused to touch Chelsea when Abramovich came in. They went in maybe 6, 11, 7 years after that money got washed. That's as corrupt as you can get, right? And I know this personally. I know this person that this happened.
But
it's not that whole thing about I have integrity and I don't have concerns about these things. People are very focused on, as I said at the outset of this, their own personal situation, what club they support, what that club can do in making them feel good about their performance. And we shouldn't sit here with this holy and thou attitude to say, you know what, this thing is so awful and terrible. I heard Gary Neville's rant, but he has a team but he's paying his players more than they play in the league they're playing in now to move them up the scale, right?
I know. And let me say this: Man United. Yeah, we want to talk about Man United. Gary Neville going on like Man United just won the league on merit and had their 20-year period of dominance on merit and stuff like that. They've had commercial deals that way gazumped anyone else for all those years, and they had a financial advantage on everyone else. They broke the British transfer record a number of times in a row. So you want to talk about Man United, they won it with kids and all that. They had one season where they won it with kids, and then the rest of the time they brought Eric Cantona in to start that whole era off, yeah? They brought him in from the league champions who were Leeds the last season before the Premier League started. They brought in Eric Cantona. They broke the British transfer record for Andy Cole. They broke the British transfer record for Rio Ferdinand, the world record for a defender at the time. They broke the transfer record for a teenager with Wayne Rooney. They broke it with they had a massive transfer fee. They paid 28 million for Anderson in that era. Do you see what I'm saying? So you want to talk about Man United, you get outraged. You lot bought success as well. Don't try it, bruv. Like, you're getting on your high horse, yeah, and you bought success as well. You get me? So I just think it's just nonsense. It's a nonsense, man. It's a nonsense. This whole outrage is manufactured by the media. It's one of them things where it's like everyone get angry now. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And that's what's happened. Really, if you check it, this is nothing new in football. This happens all the time. Companies come in, monopolies happen. This money gets into the game. Things change, formats change, new competitions come in. The UEFA Champions League hasn't been around forever. There used to be something called the Fairs Cup. Where's that gone? Do you see what I'm saying? The Europa League used to be called the UEFA Cup, and it was different. Like, all these things change, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what I haven't heard is an objective perspective on this. All I'm hearing is a one-sided argument. And they have looked at both sides. I know that the narrative is about the money grabbing, which obviously is a key reason for doing this. But are there benefits to doing this? Right? I'm not going to hear the benefit. And there are benefits to doing this, but you don't hear that side. All you hear is the money grabbing side and the greed. And you know what? That's innate to how people operate in terms of business. They're trying to get as much of the pie as possible. And so we shouldn't be surprised about this. But I do believe that, from what I'm hearing from the UK, for example, and Europe in general, that the outrage is unbelievable. If you read the New York Times here, you read CNN, you read ESPN, that's all you read nowadays is what is happening there and the outrage that's being reflected in the total global news environment about the situation. I hear sentiment saying, Bertram, how would we get closer? Everyone would have the same owner backing them. Not backing them in AFC and MUC, same ambition or lack of. So how people expect to get better for AFC? Well, AFC will have more money. We got to remember this. Unlike most of the teams like Chelsea or PSG or Man City, who find ways to use their own personal money and call it marketing money or advertising money, Kroenke's not spending his own money on Arsenal. He's utilizing revenues generated from economic activity and commercial activity to fund the organization. This is a much bigger pie, and also we get much more funds to then compete with the best teams, the best clubs in the world, the more profitable club, not the more profitable club, the club with the more resources. Right now, we're not there because the Kroenke are not taking out of their pockets. It's a self-sustaining money, meaning what I make is what I spend. That's why Barcelona is challenged now. That's why Real Madrid is challenged now, because they spend more than they make. Even though Barcelona make almost $1 billion a year, they still spend too much money. Now they'll make $2 billion and be able to spend it.
And Burton, can I just add to this point? Yeah, if we actually look at our stats, our financial stats, we do spend what we make. And the dividend that these take out is at 1 or 2 million. It's not nothing massive compared to that. People are under this impression that the Kroenkes are taking out 20, 30 million a year. They're not. They're taking out 1 or 2 million, which is what any business owner would do in terms of dividends. It's actually less than most billion-dollar businesses. Do you know what I'm saying? So people are getting sort of things a bit muddled up about all that, man.
But think about this, guys. So Arsenal is valued at about a couple billion, say £3 billion, and they're taking. So you're getting $1 million on $3 billion valuation. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That makes absolutely no business sense. In fact, it's bad business model. You can't have something valued $3 billion or $2 billion, and you're taking in $1 million a year. You're not taking any money out. What are you going to do with $1 million if you're a billionaire? So it pays for what? Your landscaping? That makes absolutely no sense. Our hypocrites, they did nothing when Sky were hijacking and monopolizing PPTV rights because it benefited them financially. Yeah, I mean, that's the case, Apollo, which is, it sounds good in the media to lambast the greed that's being reflected here, but you have to look through all of this and see where you come out as a fan for your own team, because it's all about your team. It's not about the collective.
Yeah,
I'm just reading a comment here by Victor. He says, it looks like there will be 2 sets of teams per club, per one club for local, one for local and one for ESL. Would that be the case?
No,
considering that there's not going to be any form of relegation.
No, because if you think about how how do we work with the Champions League? Teams rotate, innit? You're still going to want to win the domestic league. It's still a prestige in winning the league. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not, well, I don't know. I don't understand why people think this is not going to replace the Premier League. It's not. It's going to replace the Champions League. It'll be the same scenario. But obviously,
Well,
that's
part of the narrative, right? That's part of the narrative, which is the Premier League will not become important at all. It's going to be like the League Cup.
But think about it like this as well. We'll have a better squad of players because we'll have more money to invest. So we'll have a better squad of players. So when we're playing in the league and we're rotating, we'll be on a Man City flex where we'll take out Mahrez and put in, I don't know, who have they got? I don't know who the subs are.
Not Sterling. Not Sterling.
Well, not
after the weekend.
He'll get better.
But we'll have players like Real Madrid might take out Asensio and put in Rodrigo. Like there's certain levels of player that you'll get because you'll be getting 300 million a year guaranteed from the tournament here. Do you see what I'm saying? So we'll have a different
my
level.
understanding is that this will have financial fair play. Actually, the new league, Super League, will have financial fair play in some construct, and they can afford to have that because they'll make enough money. What they probably have is a situation where you can't spend more than a certain amount of what you make, which makes sense. Right, just like the NBA does.
It also protects, like if you look at clubs like Barcelona, they are in financial disarray because of COVID. If you look at Arsenal, even we're struggling. Do you know what I mean? So this league is born out of that. It's born out of the fact that these businessmen, they want to guarantee an income every year, and that's why there's no relegation. It's to do with guaranteeing an income every year because right now it's too unstable. Look at Arsenal this year. If we don't win the Europa, no European income next year. And that would be catastrophic for us. We'll have to sell players. We'll have to so if we're looking at it from a selfish perspective, it's better for us. If we're looking at it from a selfless perspective, it's actually better for the league because they're getting that 2 billion that I said. So
absolutely.
I don't understand. The outrage from this is literally, you just said Bertram, did you say the American media is outraged as well?
No, they're not outraged here. I'm saying it's all over the media, but there are a few people outraged, but it's not the same as in the
I wouldn't
UK,
be surprised though, because a lot of the American media is owned by Rupert Murdoch from Fox, right?
No, he doesn't have the same influence here. I mean, he owns Fox, but not when it comes to sports, frankly.
But he owns a couple of newspapers as well, though, out there. Do you know what I'm saying?
He owns the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, he owns Fox News. He owns a few things.
I was up until about 3:00 listening to all various different podcasts because yesterday the world died. Literally every fan station went live and absolutely went off. And I was scrolling between Liverpool fan stations, Man City fan station, Everton fan station, Arsenal, Tottenham, you name it. And everybody was talking as if it was doomsday. Everybody was saying, this is it. I'm done with this club. If this is how you're treating,
no, they haven't.
And obviously, I don't know if you've seen Ian Wright's article today, because Ian Wright come out today and he said, well, last week Arsenal were being such an epitome of class, giving this testimonial to David Rocastle, and then they come out and do this and shit on the fans. So this is the first podcast where I think most people are like, actually, this could be a positive thing.
Well, the problem is,
I think, Tony, I think what you're getting, I think what we're seeing is a lot of knee-jerk reaction. And that's what happens when there's really substantial change. Everything's so in place and in order. And then you're looking to sort of upset it. Everybody panics. And people, I just don't want anyone to start talking about money, really, because it's all, governed and regulated by money. And it's all, it's all messed up. And I think
I'm confused, guys. I'm confused about something. Didn't the UK leave Brexit? Didn't we have Brexit? Didn't you leave Europe?
Yeah, and look where that's gone.
Do you remember the outrage when that happened? This was done with a vote. This was done with a vote.
It's still going on today.
And do you remember the outrage? It was crazy. You couldn't even talk about Brexit at work because you end up getting in a fight.
You did it because you want your own self-determination, right? You want your own self-determination. The clubs want their self-determination because they make the most money. They want to make the most money.
I get it.
I'll be honest. Brexit's kind of what has actually sold me on the European Super League, because I saw Boris Johnson earlier, and he was literally talking about how he wants to stop it from happening. As soon as Boris Johnson wants it to not happen, I'm all for it happening now.
You get it. So, you get it.
Yeah. Let's screw it all. Do whatever he says not to do, and it's all going to be fine then.
But here's the funny thing, though. FIFA's bylaws, I think, basically prevents governments from being involved in football and determining the FA organizations their own laws suggesting. So how they want the government to stop these things? We're just saying the government has to stay out of football. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's all, as Nabil said, is knee-jerk reaction, is that emotive reaction, is that view which is there's a money grab here and we can't allow that to happen. People settle down when Chelsea's and the Arsenal and others realize how benefit their teams, and when the FA come around and say, you know what, this is inevitable because we can't tell owners how to run their club, then it'll work itself out. It may not happen. It may not happen, right?
Sometimes we just got to be selfish. Look at it from a selfish perspective.
Yeah, it may not happen, but it'll be changed.
Sometimes
if it does happen, you know everyone is going to watch it. So it's not like,
it is. This is the thing.
Everyone's going to
blow.
watch it. So and then once everyone watches it, they'll go, "This is quite good, actually. This is all right, man. I like this."
But ultimately, that's what they want. I mean, you know, it's the same thing that happened in '92 with the Premier League when it started. You know, this is what they want, and people are going to get sucked in. And I have to admit, you know, if it does go ahead, I will be very interested to see what happens with it.
Of course you will. And
anybody who says I'm not going to watch it and I'm going to disregard my team, you're lying.
It's ridiculous. I mean, why anyway? What is the basis for that? Oh, because it's a money grab. Oh, come on. Look, I think one of the way I'm looking at it, I try to look at it as like from a very selfish perspective. I look at this as, is this good for Arsenal as a football club? You know, when I look at where we are right now, I get it. I know there's an argument that maybe we don't deserve to be where we are and so forth. I look at the bigger picture, and I like I said, call it 25 years or whatever. I like to look at what we've done, even from the George Graham era, what we've done for football, what we've done for TV football, and I feel like we just deserve more. And that's just my thinking. It's really selfish, but I look forward to seeing Arsenal in that league. People say, "Oh, we're going to get smashed 15-0 by Bayern Munich." No, I don't think we will. You want to see those players that we like to talk about in the chat. Who should be signed? Who should be? That now becomes a reality.
Yeah.
Overnight, that now becomes a reality.
I wanted to talk about that because there's a guy, Nick Paris, is in the group saying Arsenal are going to get smashed. And I've seen this in so many different places. Arsenal are going to get bashed by this team, and we're going to get beat by that team.
Look at the comments.
What you don't understand
I've read that as well. I'm reading one now.
You know,
it's not going to happen.
Very, very, very quickly going to turn our money on.
Yeah, I tell you.
We're going to be able to take their players who are going to be like, hang on a second, Arsenal in the Super League. I'm going there.
Yeah,
because that's where
of course they will.
Yeah,
and like I said, that's exactly what is going to happen because that's what they want.
Shall I go to Leicester or shall I go to Arsenal? Fuck this! I'm going Arsenal. They're in the Super League.
Is it good for that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the argument even comes down to like a Leicester versus an Arsenal, right? I hate saying this, but lifelong Man City supporter, if you gave me the option, though, coming from abroad, same money on the table. Arsenal and Tottenham versus Man City, I'm going to London. If I'm coming from another country, I'm going to London.
Yeah.
It's a more desirable place to live. Sorry to Manchester, but I'm going to London. Arsenal and Tottenham have more history. Arsenal in particular have more history. If I was unbiased, I would be going to Arsenal or Tottenham ahead of any of the Northwest clubs, quite honestly, apart from possibly Liverpool.
Yeah.
No, but I think a lot of players, if we're talking about players, a lot of players will look at Man United and the prestige of Man United and stuff, the Alex Ferguson era. Like, I think all of the clubs involved are the right teams, and I hate to say it, even them lot from Middlesex, you know what I'm saying? Because they are one of the select few teams to win a double. If we actually check it, because a lot of football, Sky especially, they like to go on like football started in 1992, but it didn't. It's just that it rebranded in 92, but it was the same teams, the same leagues, everything. And Tottenham are one of the select teams to win a double. And I think, and like I say, they are the sixth most successful team in English history. We're the third, but they're the sixth. You get me? Just rubbing that in a little bit. But so the only other team that comes close is Villa, and they're one trophy away. But really, profile-wise, Aston Villa aren't on the level of Tottenham. And Tottenham, do you know what I mean? Like, if we just look at it objectively, they're not on the... So I can see why this has happened. And I just see a comment from Curved Glass saying, is this good for the fandom? Of course it is. Who doesn't want to see the best teams, the biggest teams, and the best players in the world playing regularly? That's what they want to see. That's the whole point of the Champions League. That's what it was set up for. So you see the best players and the best teams competing every single week. That's why it was set up for. And unfortunately, now you get teams like Slavia Prague dropping down or whatever. You get teams like Karabag or whatever they're called in the Champions League. You see what I'm saying? That's not
Exactly.
good for football.
That's
That is
me.
not
That's
good
where
for
I am.
worldwide-
Call it snob all you like. That's where I am. I don't
Yeah.
want to watch. I don't even want you in the
No, it's not
competition.
snobby. No,
How
bro,
did
it
you
ain't
get here?
snobby.
Yeah, but then,
Did you get in
yeah,
with
but
the
then you
back door?
might get some fans. You might get some fans that may be a bit weary about, or they might be inquisitive about what's happening to Leicester and Burnley and Aston Villa, etc. So they may want to watch. I still want to watch Aston Villa.
Listen,
Not in the
look,
Super League. You can watch them on
Yeah.
the Premier League or
Yeah,
whatever,
Premier League.
whatever
I'm
league
gonna be
they're in.
honest with you, yeah.
You know where to find
I've
them.
been an Arsenal fan for 40 years now, yeah. And as you can see, anyone knows me, I'm always wearing retro stuff. Me and some of my good friends have seen Arsenal all over the world. I'm lucky. I probably have been to most of the 92 league clubs in the country. Most. Not all, but most. I know a guy who has been to all of them. But you know what? That was part of my upbringing. So I have had some wonderful memories going to Newcastle, going to Sunderland, going to Middlesbrough. We used to love going to Middlesbrough.
Back in the day. Back in the day.
Yeah.
You don't want to go
And you know
Middlesbrough now, bro.
I would.
That's
Never
what
been there.
that's what makes me a fan, that you can say, you know what, there's a guy, he followed the herd. Yeah.
But can I ask Bertram a question? Because you were talking yesterday. I want you to talk a bit about the global aspect of this, because you were bringing up some interesting points about it in the group. So
No, I mean that's the whole. That's guys. The people don't realize that's the whole thing about this.
I've got to cut out, guys.
Those organizations who are pulling away in the Super League, take care, Nabil. Who pulling in the Super League realize that UEFA has underachieved as it relates to generating revenues. So, for example, I expect to watch the Super League final in New York at some point. It's not only going to be in Europe. It's a global now phenomenon. It's going to be watched by more teams, more people across the globe than ever before. They'll be able to charge more to the international TV broadcasters. So think about the UK in terms of how you generate revenues there. Multiply that by some multiple. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have a broad, think about it, soccer talent or football talent is much broader than basketball, for example. But there's more people playing it. So you're going to be able to players from all over the globe. This league is going to be, right now, football is the most watched sport there is, right? Football is the most watched sport. Hockey is probably much more watched than people think it is, like field hockey and the normal NHL hockey. But football is the most watched sport. You know, NFL, NBA, yes, but it's football. Think about the potential for this in every part of the globe, every country, every corner. Every week you're watching the best games, the best players you can aspire to. That's who you align with. When you come to New York, you don't hear about Leicester. You don't hear about Burnley. You don't hear about West Brom. You hear Arsenal. You hear Man U.
Might be intrigued. Some people might actually think, well, okay, I'm watching a Super League and this is what I really want to watch, but I want to watch some grassroots football. I'm going to go and watch Leicester. I'm going to go and watch Aston Villa. I want to watch Burnley.
Football, you know.
But that's not the majority, Ebony. Ebony, that's not the majority.
Yeah, and think about
it like this. They don't care about Burnleys.
Think about it like this as well.
But sometimes, you know, you want to, people may want to know what's happening with the lower league teams.
So I'll ask you guys a question. Ask this question. When you watch events on TV, do you watch the lifestyle on the rich and famous or the lifestyle of the poor? Which ones are people focused on?
Well, obviously, the rich and famous.
Does society really care that much? Do you want to see poor people every single day? Or you want to see the rappers or the entertainers? Who do you want to see? Whose lifestyle are you trying to emulate? Who are you trying to aspire to?
No, but think about it as well, yeah? For the fans, Arsenal is more than just a London club now. Man United are more than just a London club. When we go to Singapore, when we go to Hong Kong, when we go to... You can go to Taiwan, you can go anywhere, and there will be Arsenal fans filling out that stadium. And it's kind of unfair that it's been monopolized here. If you look at the NFL, every year they play games outside the NFL. The NBA have done that as well. It's like it's become more than just football. Do you
Yeah.
see what I mean? And it's kind of fair. Like we've got our English domestic league that will always be here, but then this Super League can go around the world and it can give different fans a chance to see.
And obviously they've been working on this for the last how many years? For the last 10 summers, we've been seeing all these things in play where let's take all these big teams and ship them off to California and put them in stadiums and see what that's all been the forerunner to this.
But Tony, we can't have it both ways, right? The English league is the most popular league in the world for a reason. And the money that comes in just helps the entirety of all the football, well, not as much as it should, leagues in the UK. They're all 90-something plus teams. There's a trickle-down effect. Not as it should be, the trickle-down effect. So you want to be prominent. You want to be exceptional. You want to be the best. There's a price to be paid for that. Yeah, it's not free.
I agree.
It's not free.
What do you think of Apollo's comment? Bigger return for owners based on marketing to a world TV audience. Owners don't really get what underlies sport and the psychology of fans. Setting up a selective European league will be a cash cow, and yes, it will generate a lot of money. Let's not beat around the bush.
No doubt.
But then,
so you guys are very focused on fans in your domain. Fans,
yeah, I mean, we're
not just British or Italian. Or fans are global.
Okay, so what you got to remember here now is football is tribal. Yeah. Now we've already gone. What you got to realize is football is already gone past the stage where the common man can go and watch Arsenal. He can't do it. Yeah. Certain people have been priced out of going to watch Arsenal.
Yeah.
At a season ticket between £1,000 and £6,000 a season, some people cannot afford to go and watch football at Arsenal anymore. They've been priced out.
From long time as well. It ain't been like that for ages, man.
Yeah.
So
Arsenal season tickets are the most expensive in the country, if not Europe. Right now.
Tony, don't answer that question yet. That just popped up. We'll all answer at the end, innit? Like we'll all answer whether we're actually in favour of it or not. Like,
okay.
David, remember David to ask the question when we're finished with this discussion. We'll ask the question at the end.
So here's the other side of the coin. This tribalism thing, yeah. The common fans, yeah, who exist with teams like Portsmouth and Sunderland and Middlesbrough, they ain't gonna go nowhere. They're still gonna support their tribe. Yeah. All it is now you're looking at saying, okay, your tribe can continue supporting your tribe, but there's an elite group up there, and we're gonna be part of that.
Hey, Curb, we'll answer the question, Curb, before we finish in terms of whether each of us is in favor or not.
I like the tribe though. I've been part of the tribe. I like the tribe.
Well, sometimes things change, Tony. Sometimes it's change, and change is constant.
We're still a tribe, but we're also a country. Like we've got a country of fans. You get me? Like we've got millions and millions of fans around the world, and it'll be nice. I just think it will be nice for people to be able to see the Arsenal in their own area. I live in Leeds. I don't live in London. Do you know what I mean? I'm from London. I'm from Kilburn and that, but I live in Leeds, so I've not been to see Arsenal for a long time. So the fact is, I like to be able to. I like the thought of people having them local. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. And if we see some of these foreign fans, how passionate they are, they're just like us. Do you see what I mean? So
Especially in America.
Not even just in America. Go to China or somewhere like that and see how they love Arsenal. Watch every single game. And a lot of these foreign fans, you have to understand, are way more dedicated than a lot of the British fans because we're privileged. We get to watch the football match at 3 PM. Then man have to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's how dedicated they are. That's how dedicated they are.
And they'll do it every single time. And then they'll go to work afterwards, knackered, fam. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, there's a lot more to this than just like, it's unfair, like Champions League. Why are you protecting billion-dollar organizations like UEFA and FIFA and stuff like that? Why are you jumping to their defense? It don't make no sense. Is it going to be better for us as fans? Yes, it is. Is it going to be better for the Football League system? Yes, it is. Is it going to be better to watch? Yes, it is. Are we going to have better players as a result of it? Yes, we are. So why? I don't understand why fans of the teams involved are against it. Because it's a no-brainer. Like for us, it's a no-brainer because the other teams are going to be protected. We're going to have protected revenue every year. We're going to have better players, and then global fans are going to get to see more of the game. It just makes much more sense to me than keeping it a monopoly. Like I don't. That's my opinion, innit? Like, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it because my views will be coming at the end, and it might surprise you.
Well, Apollo is saying this is what happens when clubs are sold to the mega rich who just want to get even richer. No matter what they destroy in the process, charlatans want to know. Look, I mean, I didn't hear this outrage when the Premier League was dominating any other leagues across the world. More important than any other league, money coming in, you're getting the best players, seeing better football. If you remember in the 70s, we used to watch these long balls being hit for 40 yards. That's all we saw. No interchange, no short passing. Now you've gotten the best players, the best product out there. Winning, how many teams in the Champions League semifinal? 2 teams? Almost had 3? So you're dominating. So I didn't hear this outrage because it's Abramovich money, it's Man City money, it's FSG money, it's North Africa money coming in. I'm not hearing this outrage. So why the outrage now? The outrage should have been way back when to say, you know what? We don't want our product to go outside of the UK. We want to be small fry, subject to Syria, La Liga, the Bundesliga. We want to be number 4. We don't want to be number 1. We don't want everyone to talk about our league.
Well, the people who are saying that, are the same players, also the same people, or the same fans who are happy for foreign investment to come in so that their team can buy the best players in the world.
Exactly.
What difference does it make? For those of you who know me, I'm an internationalist. So if it means that more fans get to see us around the world, then so be it. I'm not saying whether or not I'm for it or against it right now. I guess I'm answering the question because I want to see how it will pan out before I say yay or nay.
Yeah, Paul, I put your question up before. We talked about where we're all when FIFA won the World Cup to Qatar. It was corruption at its finest. Over 6,500 workers have died putting infrastructure in place. That's the point we're making, which is the hypocrisy is unbelievable when it comes to this. And in fact, there would have been more FIFA persons arrested and prosecuted. The ones that got arrested, think about it, were the ones who moved the money through the US banking system. So think about all the people from Asia and Africa who didn't move their money here. That's why they didn't get prosecuted and get sent to jail like they did in the Americas. They did in South America because they moved their money through the US banking system. So the Justice Department went after those individuals. FIFA is as corrupt as there is in any organization in history, possibly. And for them to come out with their outrage is so hypocritical. No one should listen to FIFA or UEFA for that matter.
Or the British government. Or the British government.
Or the British government.
Who are the maddest elitists going? Who are the maddest elitists going? They're talking about Boris Johnson, who went to like the most elite school in the country, which produces prime ministers like a conveyor belt, yeah? And then you want to talk about elitism and all that. Come off it, mate. Come on. Like,
I did watch a video earlier. I watched a video earlier, Danny, and that bit there about the government. At the end of the day, Boris Johnson et al. Can kiss my ass. Because they are the epitome of corruption themselves. They are the epitome of trying to screw people over to get an end result. And Brexit is one of those. Brexit is a prime example of this sort. So I'm not listening to anything that Boris Johnson has to say. What I'm interested in is when this thing does actually manifest, whether it works or not. That's what I'm interested in.
And also the elitism argument. You're talking about elitism in sport, which is elitist by its very nature. Are you good at sport? No, then you can't get in my team. That's elitism in its nature. Like, what are you moaning for? This is sport, man. It's about the best doing the best thing. And unfortunately for a lot of people, unfortunately for the Leicesters, for the Johnny-come-latelys that have recently got into it, Arsenal have been an elite club since the 1930s. So unfortunately for you, you're going to have to deal with that and suck it up, man, and try and get into one of the 5 qualifying spots. You see what I'm saying? The Champions League used to be 1 team qualified every year. And now you're moaning because you can't be one of 4. Like, come on, like, things change. You get me? That's what I'm saying. It's elitist.
Yeah, I think what people don't understand is that before the teams went on this path, they probably had a bunch of consultants, a bunch of financial experts, a bunch of individuals to go through a process of thinking about what does it look like. What would this look like financially? What's it going to look like in terms of outcry? What's it going to look like in terms of reputational risk? What's it going to look like in terms of, if we're to go down this path, what is the end game? And what they've decided, cost beneficially, is the thing to do.
Yeah,
They've gone through this assessment and thinking about all these factors to say, should we pursue this? And should we announce this? And what's the backlash we're going to get? And they decided, the revenues we're going to generate is so much that we cannot not go on this path.
That's right. And you look at the stats and the figures that Danny is so well done researched. You look at the website went live at 9:30 yesterday evening. That was the first thing I did. I'm like, superleague.com, bam, I'm on there. And you look at it and you're like, this didn't come about overnight.
Years in planning.
Research, they did their work, they made sure they had their puts in place. Nobody can think that, they're taking a risk. They're not taking a risk. They know what they're in for. There's no risk here.
The worst that can happen is that UEFA restructure to give them more money. That's the worst that can happen. The best can happen is that they run their own league financed by JP Morgan Chase, who's going to give them $3.5 billion for infrastructure setup. Think about this. 12 teams getting $3.5 billion to start out. You're getting $300 million apiece. Kroenke can pay off his long-term debt, was about $300 million right off the bat.
Yeah.
And also the what were you saying, Tony, before? You were making a point. I was going to say something. What did you say before? What were you talking about? I forgot. But I'm just saying. But it's like you're talking about like
it can't fail. It can't fail.
Yeah,
but the fact that they've done all their homework. The way that Woodward and Agnelli left immediately on the same point. Nobody leaves that job if you think UEFA can come back into it.
And that's what I was going to say. The posturing, like UEFA threatening, you're not going to play for your country, all that. If anyone's ever heard of how, you don't even have to have been a business person, but if you just know how negotiations go, you have to come hard. So you have to say, listen, if you do that, I'm going to do this. And then you try and meet somewhere in the middle. And that's all this is. This is just public negotiations. They're threatening the ESL with all these sanctions and stuff like that, hoping that the ESL are going to go, oh, wait, the heat's too much for us here. We're going to back down. And then the ESL are going to go, nah, mate, we're doing it. This is what happened. Apollo hit the nail on the head, with this is exactly what happened with the Football League and when the Premier League was getting set up. The Premier League, the top five teams in the Premier League decided they weren't getting a big enough share of the TV rights, So they decided we're going to break away from the Football League and form the Premier League. And the head of that was Greg Dyke. He was the head of ITV at the time, and he got all the five clubs together and then decided to break away from the English Football League structure. At first, the FA was like, "Nah, you can't do that." As soon as they realized they were serious, the FA said, all right, you know what, we'll back it, because they were having a bit of beef with the Football League at the time. So this is all that happens. Like you're going to see this posturing. And then eventually they're going to realize they don't have a leg to stand on. And it's going to go ahead anyway. And all the top players are going to go to that league. So then the Premier League can't afford to have the best players not playing in their league. The international teams and tournaments such as the World Cup can't afford to not have Ronaldo or Messi there, or whoever the top player is at the time, and they're going to have to back down and put their backing behind it. What UEFA should do is say, can we put our name on this, please, so we can get some of your money? That's what they should be doing. But they're going to posture and then act like they don't want it, and then eventually they're going to have to give in. I guarantee you that's what will happen. Guarantee.
Yeah, I don't understand the threat to the players, because the players have nothing to do with this, right? The players play for a company.
It's a negotiation. They don't mean it. It's a negotiation.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the whole idea of saying the players will get banned doesn't make sense logically. I play for Juventus. I don't know what Juventus is going to do. You tell me I can't play for my country because I play for Juventus and I have a country for Juventus?
They're hoping the players are going to revolt and put pressure on the club, and then the club are going to go, nah, we're not doing it because we're going to lose Ronaldo. We're going to lose.
And Ronaldo's getting paid £600,000 a year and is going to revolt. Really? And where's he going to go with that money?
That's what they're hoping.
That's what they're hoping. It's not going to happen. Ronaldo ain't going nowhere. Messi ain't going nowhere. You know, I like to think that, you know, players in Arsenal aren't going anywhere. It's, you know, part of me thinks that, you know, in despite what's being said in this discussion, you know, part of it I think is scaremongering. And
Definitely.
and you know, and it's just listening to, because before this I was actually anti, but you know, when you actually look, when you flip the coin, you know, there is a good side to it, but then there's also, you know, the element of, you know, the greed to it as well, which oligarchs and owners and chair people, there is greed still there. And that same greed that's been there since 2003 onwards, the greed's always going to be there. And you know, my main thing is, you know, how do we benefit from it? And I hope that, you know, we will actually benefit from it, rather than, you know, being the forgotten people as we have been for the past few years.
Yeah,
Not
I
gonna
think,
happen.
guys, think about it this way. So the NBA, when they had their new bargaining agreement, they're restricted about how much they can pay players. The minimum salary in the NBA is a couple $1 million. They went from somebody making 20 million to making 40 million a year in terms of the top paying, right? So you are Ronaldo, you can make $100 million. Why would you be concerned about this other stuff? You're a player, the lowest player in the league, the least player in terms of capability. You're getting paid a couple £1 million a year. You're not going to be embracing that. Your career is between what, 3, 4, and 10 years. Why would you not embrace that? Maximize your earning potential. Take that money, go invest it someplace else.
Yeah.
Support your family. Why would you not think that's a good thing?
And I said this to somebody earlier. I said, think about this. If Bayern Munich decide, well, you know what, they've said they're not going to jump in, no problem. Do you think Lewandowski is going to stay long?
Exactly.
But the minute he realizes, hang on a second, the players in the Super League are going to get chopped from the World Cup. Well, actually, I play for Poland. My chances of winning the World Cup are shit. I've got no chance. So what I might as well do is go in that Super League and make the most money.
And do you know what will end up happening? All these clubs, yeah, they'll start their own international tournaments as well.
I was going to say, they may just get rid of FIFA.
They'll get rid of
FIFA.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they need to. They know. I know this is not legit, but guys, it's like exactly like Ebony says. It's Project Fear. That's what this is. It's Project Fear. It's like fear mongering to say, "Oh, you're going to be in trouble if you do that," hoping that the clubs then back down. Once they realize the clubs are serious about this, they ain't gonna have a leg to stand on, man.
And don't forget, guys, you know, the Champions League final is better than the World Cup final. Player for player. There ain't no one going to tell me Brazil are fantastic. They play great football, but they don't have 11 of the best players in the world.
To get playing together in the same club. Okay, fair enough.
Just playing
I understand
in the
that.
same jersey, but they ain't got the best players in the world in the same team.
And it'll be even more so, Tony. It'll be even more so now if you think about it, because all the best players are going to be at these teams. So you're going to see even more dream team stuff. They'll be like AC Milan against Liverpool. Remember that?
You're right.
So
yeah, look, I understand the initial outrage by some parties. Like if I'm the West Ham, if I'm West Brom, if I'm Burnley, if I'm Brighton, yes, because I realize the opportunity to get into that league group has now been reduced significantly than it was before. But if you're one of those 12 teams, I'm not sure why you have this consternation, this outrage, this perspective that it's the worst thing ever happened. Because all it does is put more money in your owner's pocket. I agree, but give them more resources to enable your team to compete.
And can you imagine the pressure on someone like Stan Kroenke if we refuses to invest in the squad after we know all the ins and outs of this? Can you imagine the pressure on him? It will be unbearable. So, and if you look at what he's done, you're in America, Bertram. You see how he's run his teams over there. And yeah, St. Louis, the Rams, they got angry at him. You get me? Because he moved the franchise when he said they wouldn't. But when you actually look at what he does with the franchise when he's got them, he takes them to new levels. And this is another thing. He's going to take us to. He's going to invest the money because that's what he does. He just invests. He just
well, Tony, you'll be forced to invest the way that I think the contract will be. What I'm anticipating. You'll be forced to invest a minimum amount of money, right? In terms of you being able to pay players and how that's going to work. Now, Europe is a little bit different in terms of transfer fee. That actually is the bogey here. Because in the US, you exchange players in most of these constructs. You don't move money that much. You exchange players. There, the question is, Are there going to be now limits on how much you can transfer a player for example? Right? Because they put these things in place, they may change some of the whole construct.
I don't think there'll be a salary cap. I don't think there'll be. I think
there'll be a salary cap. There's going to be a salary cap.
I don't think so.
Let's put a little wager on this. There'll be such in some form, not maybe the way you think about it, but they're going to say, you know what, you can't spend more than like how you have in terms of financial fair play. There'll be something a little more stringent. They want to lock in their profit. Danny.
Yeah, but
they're going to lock in their profit.
But hang on a second, Bertram. Look at where wages are already. Yeah, you've already got
players
on 500 grand a week. If you set the limit at 500 grand a week, what does that tell you? It means that you can say, okay, you know what? Arsenal currently have about 4 first-team players under 100 grand a week. Saka, Martinelli, probably Leno, Tierney.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's
you. You know, they're all earning like 60, 70,000 a week. Immediately, you can have 20 players sitting above the £100,000 a week. And you might have 1 or 2 at the 500 a week. That's how it works.
But you're going to have that limit, which is you can spend 60% of your revenues to do anything you want to do with it, right? So I'm going to lock in my 40% profit. That's how I envision this happening. That's why I go down that path. You just give back all the money to all the players. It doesn't satisfy what you're trying to achieve, which I got to give my best as a good return. And I got to find a way to lock in that number. So it'll be a lot of money for the players still. Don't get me. NBA is like that, right?
Yeah.
The top 3 NBA players make about 40 mil a piece. That's a max amount. And then other people make 10, 15 million. The same concept. Same concept. I can't see them going this path, Danny or Tony, and say, we're going to pay you anything you want. Then what? You're going to make a profit. Your whole job is to lock in your profit and guarantee your income and also maximize the global distribution of your product. And as Danny alluded to, have more control about either my TV rights, my image rights, whatever that is out there. I want more control over the revenue stream.
Ultimately, the wage bill goes up through the roof straight away.
Yeah, it does go up. It does go up. But it's more manageable because you have more revenues to pay those wages.
A lot more revenue,
that's the thing with Arsenal. Arsenal have been squeezing their wage bill and squeezing to the point where they can't squeeze no more.
But they have no choice because the revenues, they're not generating the revenues. That's why they have no choice. But they got to squeeze it.
FFP will go out the window as well, by the way, because we won't be under UEFA.
No, they're saying FFP is going to be, they're going to have FFP in that whole construct, actually. They're sending some semblance of what FFP entails. They're going to implement that in this setup.
But it will be a lot different. It won't be the same as it is now. No, it won't be restrictive like this.
We're almost done here. We are 1 hour and 58 minutes into this, and we still could go for another 2 hours, but we'll close it down in the next 5 or 10 minutes. G saying, why not have a league which is on top of the Premier League and other European leagues that teams can be promoted into and relegated from? But look,
like the Champions League. Like the Champions League.
Yeah, guys, here's another thing. If I spend $1 billion on a team, I want to take the risk of my investment depreciating significantly by getting relegated. Really? I buy a team for $1 billion and $2 billion, and I gotta go in some second league where now I'm worth 500 million. Are you out of your mind? That relegation thing doesn't work if you spend all this money. I want my investment to depreciate, so I go give a chance of relegation. And God forbid, with outright Arsenal, the early part of the season, we talk about maybe getting relegated. No one want to take that risk with their investment. It's not happening. They don't want a relegation construct. They spend too much money for their teams, and the new owners want something that's going to have them generate more revenues. Nick is saying, Kroenke going up against Abramovich and Sheikh Mansour, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think, Nick, you're thinking about the old Arsenal without all this flush of cash. Think about it this way. Think about Man City. They can buy a player for 50 million. That player don't work out, they go buy another one for 50 million. That would be how this work going forward. You'll have much more money to make. You can make bad decisions and still be good. Versus now, when Arsenal make a bad decision, even has a self-sustaining model, that hurts them for a long period of time. Think about Ozil, for example. Not that he was bad all the time, but he became bad later on. So we're going to close the whole discussion down. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. But before we go, as we talked about before, we're going to ask the question, are you for or against the Super League? And I'll start with Ebony first. I know you're talking.
No, she can't.
No,
Okay,
no.
she's busy. She's busy. So Tony, are you for or against the Super League?
So I'm open for change. I'm open for change, but I'm a tribalist and I like the tribe. You know, I don't want to lose some of those old school habits of being able to go up to parts of the country and, you know, support my team in foreign soils and, you know, and ultimately going back to my original gambit. What's that going to cost me, bro? Because I know if it's Arsenal against Man United and we're playing in Kroenke Stadium, LA, I ain't making that game. Will I pay £20 pay-per-view? See how it goes.
Ebony, for or against? And rational
Um,
why? And rational why?
Okay, rationally, I'm on the fence. I want to see how this pans out before I say yay or nay, as I said before. I want to see how it benefits us as fans before I say yes or no. I want to see if it makes a difference to people's package with regards to satellite TV before I say yay or nay. I want to see how teams fare and how teams cope with extra games on top of the games that they have in the Premier League before I say yes or no. So for now, I'm on the fence. I would like to say that I'm always open to change. I think this discussion has actually helped me to see the other side of the coin. So I'm grateful for it. But right now I'm on the fence.
Danny, for or against? And reason why?
I'm against the format of it. You know, the format. Like I said, I like the knockout competition. I like that kind of aspect. So I'm kind of against that. But in terms of the overall thing, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I can't say I'm for it because I don't know. I don't really want to be putting my eggs in that basket of supporting it, and then it turns out not to be what they're saying it is. But right now, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see the problem with it that the media are panicking about and stuff like that. I just think it sounds like a good prospect on paper, and it removes the power from organizations like UEFA, who, like I said earlier, they've lessened the Champions League with all these random teams being allowed in there, like Karabag, and who are like them dodgy teams that you don't want to be watching. Like they're rubbish teams. Like who's that other team that Ozil scored that goal against? Begins with V. Like, do you remember Ozil when he ran around all their players and chipped the keeper? That was a Champions League, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, like so you don't want to be watching them teams, do you? So in that aspect, I'm for it, but I just want to see a bit more. I want to see a bit more as time goes on. But at the moment, as it stands, I'm not against it for the reasons that everyone's saying. Like I say, I watch the NBA and I know how competitive it is. I know how entertaining it is. And I know how players move around teams and make things more exciting. I know how teams like in 2015, the Golden State Warriors didn't win a championship for years. They come along and win the championship. And then players like Steph Curry are born, and I feel we can get some of that with this league. So I'm for it in that aspect. So I'm mostly for it. Let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say a couple of things. One is I understand the perspective of both sides. I understand those who are in uproar about this and are concerned about this because they're thinking of a more egalitarian construct, which is the Bournemouth of the world. They come from League Two or League One and get to the Premier League, even though they're in the Championship now. So I understand that aspect of it. I understand the teams who believe that they're being cut out of all of this, that it's a money grab. I understand it also. But if I'm to be selfish, I'm an Arsenal fan, I don't see where any shape or form this is bad for any teams involved, including Arsenal. We'll make more money. We'll now be able to compete with the Barcelonas and the Real Madrid of the world because we have never really competed with them. Once in a while, we may beat them. But on the whole, and in general, we don't compete well with the Bayerns, the Barcelona, the Real Madrid because we don't have the financial clout to do so. And frankly, we've been poorly managed. Now you can be poorly managed and still do well because you have so much income at your disposal. I also believe that change is a necessity in the current environment. I think football has been a little bit of a dinosaur of how they've operated. They have not moved with the times. You can hear all this VAR story about, VAR. If you listen to Talksport and listen about VAR, I sit there smiling thinking, you guys are not getting it. VAR is not about the technology. It's about the people who are doing the business. And it's about the rules, why it's so challenged. So take a step back. Think about all these things. Think about where we're trying to go as a world in general to football, the global aspect to it. I live outside the UK, so my view is a little bit skewed, given I'd love to see a Champions League game or a Super League game in the US, and I go watch the game live versus always seeing on TV. So I have a selfish view on this. But I also believe that I support Arsenal, and I'm going to support what's best for my team. And therefore, I got to see, as Danny says, what the ultimate model is going to look like and how it's going to work in terms of, player salary, caps, all these different things. Right stand now, I don't have that outrage like a Gary Neville or other individuals who are Carragher who are just dissing this whole program, because right now, you know what? They're conflicted. They work for Sky. And frankly, Sky's going to be a big loser. Sky's going to be a huge loser in this because all these media platforms, the Disneys, the Googles, the Yahoos, all these platforms are going to want a piece of this pie, the Amazons, because nowadays kids stream by their phones and their tablets. They're not watching traditional TV as you used to. So now you can get the game if you're in Timbuktu, because you only have internet, you can get the game. You don't have to be slave to the whole historical way of how things work. So I'll say this in terms of, I want to see what the final model is, but right now I can't see them against at all. So thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a real robust discussion. We appreciate you being with us. And I know each of you have your own views on this. We really want to hear your views at different points in time. And there's more to come on this. So I know it's a little bit late in the UK. What's it now? 12 o'clock, frankly. So have a good evening. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Thanks and enjoy. Good night, everyone.